Okay, guys, I think we can start. So, if you remember last week class, we have been discussing about C++ basics. Okay, we actually use some simple references like tutorial point to discuss the basic concept of C++. Okay, I know some of you already know C++, but it's just a refreshment, I will say. Like, we are just refreshing the things that we have learned already. And this is one of the important prerequisites while working with rows. Okay, because all of the rows functionalities can be programmed using C++ APIs. Okay, so that's why we are like going through all these concepts again, and then that is the main reason. Okay, so I hope you remember some of the things that we have discussed in the last class. Like, we have started from the very basic, like hello world, and then we have just gone through all these basic stuff: variables, constants, then operators, different kind of loops, then functions, decision making, then numbers. Then I think we just stopped on arrays. Okay, but in this class also we will not like do I mean a lot of explanation about this concept, but we will just show each concept, and I will explain what this is, and then and then we will move forward. Okay, so we are planning to complete some of the important aspects of object-oriented concepts. Okay, and then we will be seeing how to build a project using CMake and Make. Okay, so that is the objective. Let's see how much we can complete. Okay, so arrays, I hope you have heard about arrays, right? Like, it is for storing a series of values, okay, in a single variable. I will say, like, it's called array. From the word itself, you can understand what is an array. Like, if you want to store 5 variable in a single, 5 data, 5 values in a single variable, you can create an array. Okay, so there is a single dimension array and multi-dimensional array. Okay, so 2-dimensional array is called matrix. Okay, so it's basically for storing data and manipulating it. Okay, so one of the use case of 2-dimensional array or matrix is if you are, and the next chapter is actually we will be discussing some kind of image processing. So in image processing, the image is actually storing in a matrix. Okay, 2D array or matrix. So we will see how we can manipulate a 2D matrix or something. So basically, the array or the matrix, whatever it is, it's for storing a lot of information in a single variable, and you can access each variable by using an index. Okay, like for example, if you want to store 4 values in a variable called balance. Okay, balance is a double data type is double, and then you can access each value in the balance using balance of 0, balance of 1, balance of 2, okay, balance of 3, and balance of 4. Okay, you can just use this subscript. You can just use that index. Index means the position basically in an array, and then we can access it. Okay, so so now I didn't started the VirtualBox, but there is a provision to run the C++ code in the browser itself using G++. I can show you that. So I'm just sharing the links to you so you can also try it. So basically, this example is actually storing some elements to I think 10 elements. Okay, 10 is the number of elements present in the variable called n. Okay, there are 10 locations, and then in a for loop, okay, we are actually assigning values to this 10 location, and then we are just printing it. Okay, so that is this example. So we will get an output like this. Okay, basically for for the first index, the value is 100. You can see the value is actually incrementing from 100. Okay, 100 plus I. Okay, so this is the value that is storing in the first index. So 100 plus 0 is the first index value, and then up to 9. 0 to 9, that is 10 elements actually. Okay, so this is a very basic example using array. So this is how we can define array, and then using the index we can assign values to the array. Okay, and then we can read the value from array. So if you press the live demo, you can able to compile this program in G++. Okay, so just press the execute button, then you can able to see the G++ command here, G++ -o main cpp. Okay, so you will get the output like this. Okay, so you can even manipulate it. Let me just change this element 1 to element 1. Let me compile it, and you can see the change here. Okay, so this is a great way to test your C++ code, and also I think you can able to save it, I guess. Okay, you can also save it. So it's a great way to test your C++ file from the web browser, and it's using G++. So the code will work in C++, Linux. Okay, so that is array, and you can able to see the multi-dimensional array here. I mean, there are big concepts around array, but I'm just going through these concepts. Okay, so this is two-dimensional array, and you will have a row and column, and you can access each value in a two-dimensional array using row and column index. Okay, like in the first row, first column, that is this one. In the first row, last column, that is this. Okay, so this is like 3 by 4 matrix. Okay, three rows and 4 columns. Okay, and then this is how we can assign values to the two-dimensional array. We can directly give the values, or we can use a for loop. Okay, so this is a two-dimensional array, right? So we need to use 2 for loops in order to assign values, because we need the index of row and column. Okay, so this is actually very useful while doing image processing, because I mentioned that a digital image is a two-dimensional data. Okay, and the thing is that in a digital image we have several layers like RGB, then alpha is for the transparency, and RGB, red, green, blue. So these individual layers are storing in a separate matrix. Okay, so if you take an image, it may have 4 layer matrix. Okay, if it is a grayscale, then it will be single layer. So image matrix OpenCV, maybe I can just show you that. So I'm just talking about the application of matrix and arrays. So you can see here, yeah. So let me take some example. Yeah, I think this will be a great example. So this is an image on the left side. Okay, you can see a pixelated image, and corresponding to each pixel. Okay, pixel is the unit unit in an image, digital image. So corresponding to each pixel, there is a value. Okay, so this is this value, maybe 0 to 255. It's a range. So you can see each value. Okay, so using a for loop, you can access these values. Okay, and you can manipulate it or process it. Okay, like edge detection, all those stuff. Okay, so in image processing, this will be very useful, guys. Arrays and 2D metrics. Okay, so you can do the live demo here. Yes, yeah, simple. You can try it out. Okay, and then we are coming to strings quickly. So if you want to work with strings, then the easier way is, I think if you are familiar with C, we will be using char data type to individually store each character, or you can just do the initialization like this. But if you're working with C++, there are a lot of advantages. So in working with C++, there are two methods actually. Okay, so this is actually showing C style. Okay, yeah, C style character. But this is what the string class in C++ is. This is very useful. So if you're working with C, you can find string copy, string cat, all this stuff. It's actually present in C++ as well. Okay, so if you can define a string using char array, then you can manipulate the string array using these function. Like we can copy one string to another, we can concatenate it, you can find the length of the string, then we can compare it. Okay, so you can do a lot of manipulation using these C style commands. Okay, the function that is already present in C, that is already available in C++. But the difference is that in C++, a new add-on called string. Okay, so a string is actually a class. We will actually coming to that class actually, the concept of class. So using string, it's very string class, it's very easy to manipulate strings. Okay, like it's very simple, like string space str1. Okay, so string is a class. Okay, str is actually an object, or you can say as of now maybe it's a variable. Okay, so the hello will be storing into str1 object, then world is storing to str2. Then you can simply like copy like this, concatenate like this, then you can get the size of this. So it is very easier than this approach, right? Here we have to use some function, but using string class we are actually minimizing the burden of handling strings. It's again very useful thing, because one of the useful application of string manipulation is that in some time we may get a string, okay, maybe from robot or something as a topic, then you have to manipulate it. Okay, you have to like take the exact value from it. For example, if you are working with a serial port from maybe we are reading some sensor data, which may be a string data that we are getting, and then we have to manipulate that string data, the raw data coming from the sensor, into useful values. So it's actually a manipulation, string manipulation. So you can use this string class for easier manipulation. Okay, so strings will be useful. And then okay, then the pointers, I'm just giving an idea of the pointer first. Again, one of the useful entity in robotics programming. The thing is that the pointer concept is that we are working with the addresses. Okay, so like if we know the address of a variable, we can manipulate that variable based on the address. Okay, so this is actually very useful in some application. Okay, for example, the main application is that sometime we may get a big data from some sensors like LiDAR or Kinect, depth sensor, Intel RealSense. The data coming from these sensors will be point cloud, okay, which is a big chunk of data. And in order to process these data, we may have to create a copy of the point cloud. Okay, so that is not efficient actually. Like we are creating a copy of a point cloud which is having a size of 5 MB, and that we are getting 5 MB per second we are getting each data. So if we are keep on copying this data in the RAM, then the RAM consumption will increase. Okay, so essentially if we are using pointers, and if we are using inter-process communication using rows, then we can use the address of the memory, so that this copying can be can be stopped, and we can we may need not to copy the entire value to a variable, but we can do the manipulation as well. Okay, so this is where one of the key application of using pointers. So I think while working with rows, you will understand we are using pointers sometime. And there is another concept called shared memory. It's again another thing related to the pointer. So pointers are like we are working with the address of the variable rather than directly dealing with the variable. So here integer var equal to 20, this is a variable, and then we are actually storing the var address to IP. Okay, and then we can access this value through this asterisk symbol. Okay, so this is how we are accessing this value through address. Okay, so now we are manipulating through the address, not the variable. Okay, so this is much faster, because if we are dealing with the variable directly, then the variable has to go to the specific address and then find the value. But if you are directly giving the address, it will be much faster and efficient. Okay, but there are a lot of caveats in working with pointers, because if you are not properly handling with the pointer, then there can be memory leak and there can be segmentation fault. So segmentation fault means if you are like pointing some value, pointing to an unknown memory location. The memory location I am mentioning is the memory location of the random access memory, RAM. Okay, so if you are dealing with so Rohan actually commented segmentation fault, core dump. So these kind of messages sometime happen. Okay, not all the time. Sometime can happen because of the improper handling of the pointers. Okay, so handling with pointers is actually very difficult to work with, but your code will be much efficient and then much faster. Okay, and it will only use very less amount of RAM and all. Okay, so that is pointers. It's mainly like ampersand sign. This is a symbol that we are using to get the address of this variable. Okay, and then from the address, if we get the address, we can get the value of that address using asterisk symbol. Okay, just a second. Let me. Okay, so yeah, that is pointer. And then what's next? Basic input output. I think we already covered it. C out, C in. So I think we have discussed that actually. So in order to do the basic input output operation in C++, we have the IOStream header file. Basically, it is having some functions like cin, cout, clear, and clog objects. Okay, so Rohan is having a question. Can you please repeat the segmentation and RAM management part? Yeah, maybe I can just repeat the important point. So like whenever we work with a program, then and if you are using pointers, so if you are dealing with the addresses, if there is any memory that we are addressing, for example, I am addressing just a second. Okay, let me take the gedit. So the memory address commonly mentioning using hexadecimal convention. So for example, I have a memory address in 040. Memory address, and there is a value. Okay, so there is 41, 42, and 43. Okay, so these are the available memory address, and imagine there is a value called 1 is there, and 2 and 3 these all are the values that is storing in this. Okay, so whenever if we are trying to access 0x043, okay, either you will get a I mean some random value, okay, or you will get segmentation fault. Okay, both can happen. And if you get any segmentation fault or anything, then it may not be completely with the pointer or something. It can be of many reason. One of the reason is like pointer access. Okay, if you are using a pointer location that is not available, then it will raise error. Then and if we are working with the addresses, then we are efficiently managing the memory, RAM resources, because we specifically know how much amount of RAM that we are using, and then we can optimize it. Okay, so we will not use a lot of variable or something. We will specifically use these addresses, and working with the pointer can effectively reduce the amount of RAM. Okay, because it avoid the copying of the copying of the value. For example, if you are accessing the value using the address, then and rather than you can just simply copy this value to another variable, so that is actually taking another space. Okay, so simply using pointer we can access this value and we can manipulate it or something. Okay, so that is the pointer. I hope that is clear to you. It's actually a big topic, but because of the limitation I'm just giving an abstract. So what I'm talking about was like IOStream. There are some function that can be used for printing. Okay, basically outputting some values in the screen and getting some input from the keyboard. Okay, cin is one function that we can use to get input from the user using the keyboard. So IOStream is the header file, which is having a namespace called std, and inside that we have cout and cin. Okay, yeah, so then we will directly jump into class and objects. Okay, so I'm not like giving details, but what I will say is like the main difference between C and C++ that I have seen was C doesn't have class, but C++ does have the class. Okay, so what is class, and can you compare C and C++, and what is advantage of using C++? All those things I can give an abstract. So basically, if you work with C, you can see the struct. Okay, struct in C. Just a second, guys. So struct in C, I think you may be aware of struct in C. Maybe I can just show you that. Struct in C. So I hope you are familiar with this. If you are not, you can just see this. So struct in C is that you can include a set of variables inside a name, under a name actually. So for example, struct geeks for geeks. Okay, so geek for geeks is a name. Okay, struct name, and inside this geek for geeks we are including, okay, we are encompassing like a variable called name, which is having char data type. Then there is integer, then float, all these things. So these three variables with different data types are the members of the struct. okay, are the members of this struct. Okay, so if you create a copy of Geeks for Geeks, then we will get all these member fields, and we can assign some value to it. Okay, so for example, let me check if there is any. Yeah, so this is one example that I can show you. So let me try to run it. Oh, okay, so you can see here we created a struct called point. Okay, and point is having int x comma y. Okay, so here in the main function, what we are doing is we are creating a copy of this point called p1. Okay, p1, and then we are assigning the values to the x and y. Okay, we can do like this. Okay, we can assign the values to the x and y like this, and then we can access these value by p1.x, p1.y. Okay, meaning the point is a struct, and it can include, or it can handle, it can hold different kinds of data type inside it. Okay, integer, character, a string, anything you can include, or you can put inside a struct, and that struct, using that struct, you can create a copy of it, and you can add the values inside these variables. Okay, I hope if you're familiar with it, then you may understand this concept, but basically the thing is that I can say with another example. For example, like if you want to store an address or a details of a student in a class. Okay, so student will have name, age, then address, then street, then just a second, guys. Okay, just a second. Yeah, so for student details, for entering the student details, the student will have all these attributes, right? So in order to hold all this information, we can create a struct. Okay, and then we can give the value as student. Maybe I can just give like this, struct student. Okay, so inside that I can just add string name, int age, then string address. Okay, so the advantage of using struct is that if we want to add a 20 student details, okay, then you can create an array called stud, and you can add these details to this array. Okay, so the stud is actually a copy of students, which is having each stud variable having name, age, and address. Okay, so like stud 0.name equal to maybe Lentin. Okay, so like that we can access this variable. Okay, stud 10 dot name test. Okay, so you got the advantage of using struct, right? It's very easy to like handle or hold a big chunk of data under a name called struct. So using struct, we can hold all these things under a name, and then we can simply create a copy and then include or give values to this. Okay, so that is actually struct. And then, so why I discuss about struct was, I will say classes in the C++ is an extension of struct in C. Okay, struct in C. So what is the difference mainly? So can anyone say what is the difference between struct in C and class in C++? Can anyone say the main difference? Anyone? Any idea? I think you already know C++ and all, right? Some of you already know. So, can anyone say what is the main difference between the struct in C and class in C++? Any idea? Any idea, guys? Okay, maybe I can explain if you don't know about it. The main idea is instruct. You can see here, right? Instruct, we can add different data types under a struct name, okay, but it can't include any function. But in class, the same thing, only difference is just give class instead of struct, and then we can include int sum, int a, int b, okay, int sub, int a, int b. So I hope you got the difference between struct and class, okay. And this similar approach, maybe I can give student1 as the class name, and in order to create a copy of the class, just do this, okay. So here we are creating a copy of student1 to stud1, okay. Yeah, I don't can you just unmute your mic, or okay, thank you. So the copy of this class is called object, class object, okay. It's actually like a blueprint, okay. And then we can access each members inside the class, members inside the object using name, using dot operator, okay. Using dot operator, you can just assign, okay. Then if you want to call any function, you can do like this, okay. So just imagine a class can handle a lot of things, okay. It can handle for example, if you want to enter a student detail, okay, student detail, and his mark, some of the marks he scored in the last year, and average performance, all the details, okay, of the student. You can write a class about this, okay, which is having a lot of functions, okay. So this is the function definition, function declaration inside the class. If you want to define this function inside a class, you can do like this, int student colon sum int a, int b, then so the return of this function is return a plus b. So this is how we can define a function inside a class, or you can define here itself, like you can write like this, you can define like this, okay. That is also possible, okay. So what I'm trying to say is that a single class can hold much information than a struct in C, okay. It can even hold functions, okay, and we can simply call that function, then it can compute a lot of stuff for you, okay. So the advantage of learning class is that we can write our own library in a modular form using class, and then we can include that class in your code, okay, and we can simply create copies of it and simply call the functions inside it, okay. So this is the most important part of C++ that we are using in ROS, Okay, basically rows actually giving a set of classes to you. Okay, set of classes. Okay, what you have to do is you have to call that class, you have to create an object or create a copy of it, and then we can play with that class. Okay, for example, if you want to create a delay in your program. Okay, so rows is providing a class called rate. Okay, rate. So you can create a object or copy of the rate class, and then in the rate class there is a function called sleep. Okay, so object dot sleep will provide the delay. Okay, so this is a live example. I think I can run it, and then you will get an understanding how class works. So this is a very important topic, guys. Make sure you got the actual understanding of this. So I can explain this example program. So here you can see a class. Okay, I hope you can able to see here. Okay, so here the class called box. Okay, and inside this class we are defining these variables. Okay, and if you see this, you can see public, right? So there is another, I mean, there are many advantages for C++ class. One of the thing is that we can set the privacy of the variable and function. Okay, for example, if you want to avail these variables for public, then you can make it as public. I mean, you can make it as public using the public keyword. If you want to make this variable private, then you can change to private. Okay, so there is another thing called protected. Okay, so we can actually set the privacy. It's not the privacy, it's the visibility of these variables and functions inside the class. Okay, so this is a simple class which is having the attribute of box. Attributes of box is length, breadth, and height. Okay, so this is representing the details of a box. And then in the main function, what happening is that we are creating a object of box called box1 and box2, and then we are setting a value called volume to 0. Okay, and then what happening is that we are setting box1 height to 5, box1 length to 6, box1 breadth to 7. Okay, then box2 height to 10, 12, 13. Okay, and then these box1 and box2 holding these much of values, and you can compute the volume using these equation. Box1, I mean, just multiplying everything. Okay, so here also we are finding the volume using this equation. Okay, but in this class there is no functions, right? There is no functions. So let me create a function called volume. Okay, volume, let me give a try. Okay, so I am not giving any arguments because I just want to multiply these values inside a class. Okay, so what I'm doing is returning the length. Okay, I can explain after doing this. Breadth. Oh, what happened? I think there is some problem with my system. Okay, so breadth into height. Okay, okay, so this should be returning, and then instead of volume what I am doing is box 1 dot volume, and then box 2 of volume. Okay, let me try this and let's see what is happening. Actually, we are getting the same. Okay, so I can explain what was just happened. Here what you are doing is we just created a function inside the class called volume. Okay, and what volume does is that it actually multiplying length, breadth and height. Okay, so these length, breadth and height is already here in the class. Okay, and then in box 1 and box 2 we are actually creating the copies, right? Box 1 and box 2 is a object of box. Okay, and then we assigned the values like height, length and breadth, I mean these values here. Okay, and then we are calling the volume function. So literally what it does is that it will multiply the assigned values, that is 5, 6, 7 to these variables. Okay, it will find the volume. Okay, and then box 2 will also find the volume. Okay, so like this you can do a lot of things. Okay, this is actually one of the best way to write libraries or make your code modular. Okay, modular in the sense if you want to do a big project, okay, big project, maybe a navigation project or like with image processing and all. So you have to write each modules like in a class in a separate C++ file and header files. Okay, I can show you that. So then you can call all these class inside our main code. Okay, main C++ file. So you can access like other classes like image processing class, then navigation class, everything in a main code, and then you can start working on it. Maybe I can show you an example. Okay, so then only you can understand. So there are many things associated with the classes. Okay, so one of the advantage of class is that you can inherit it. Okay, you can inherit it. So that is one of the things that we need to aware of. So in this example there is a class called shape. Okay, and we know rectangle is a shape and circle is a shape, right? So the shape class we call the base class. Okay, because that is the root, right? Shape. And rectangle we can call say derived class. Okay, so what we are doing is we first created a class called shape, and then we actually created another class, and then this is how we are inheriting it. Okay, this is how we are inheriting from another class. So just give a colon, then if we want to inherit all the public functions, then public space shape. Shape is this class. Okay, so if you inherit it, then you can access the functions inside the shape. Okay, so that's how the inheritance work. Okay, that is actually very useful I mean feature in class, which is like you can able to see here we are inheriting from the shape. So shape is having two functions, set width and set height. Okay, so by inheriting we can access these function from the object of rectangle. Okay, here we are creating a object from the rectangle class, which is this. Okay, then you can access set width and set height. So the inheritance from the word itself you can understand like we are inheriting I mean a lot of things from our ancestors, right? So like that imagine the base class is our ancestor and derived class is us. Okay, so the derived class, that is us, we are inheriting from the base class. Okay, and then we will get some of the things from the inherited class. Okay, so in this case, the inherited class, that is our ancestors, is having set width and set height function, but we don't have it. We only have a function called get area. Okay, so by inheriting from the ancestor class, we will get set width and set height. Okay, and then we can also get the get area. Okay, so simply inheriting. Okay, so that will be very useful. Okay, and then I'm not discussing other aspect now, but inheritance will be the important one. And then one of the important thing is files and streams is not very important. Exception handling may be important. So I just want to talk about so we are just going out from the class now, and there is a thing called exception handling. I'm not sure how many of you tried it, but this is again one of the useful feature in C++. So while working with sensors, okay, or like in robot mostly, we are processing the data from the sensors, right? We are processing a lot of data coming from the sensors, and sometimes the sensor can give some garbage values, okay, and then our algorithm may fail. Okay, so in C++ and Python also, there is in many programming languages, like there is a try catch feature in C++. Basically what try does is that it will try to do these 2 lines, okay, and if this is failed, then it will execute the catch. Okay, for example, here in this function, it's trying to divide 50 by 0. Okay, so I think you are aware of this division by 0 thing, right? So when we divide a number by 0, it will throw an exception because it's an error. Okay, so here they're using an exception. Okay, so what happening is that 50 divided by 0 will create an error, and maybe we can execute and find the result is. So you can see here it's throwing an error called like division by 0 is not possible. Okay, so this is a message that the function throwing. Okay, but basically I think there is a better example. I will say this is something which is complicated, but try catch. Let me take a simple example. This is again very useful because we are basically like trying some lines of code, and if there is any segmentation fault or any issue with that lines, then it will trigger the catch. Okay, for example, here it's trying to do something, okay, and if that is failed, then the exception code message will print. Okay, so why we have to do it? Because the program will not crash. Okay, we are handling the exceptions even if there is any garbage value from the sensor, our program is still running. Okay, like I can see a practical example. You are deploying a robot in a hospital or like in some environment, and robot is working, robot is doing something, and your program or your sensor, actually the robot sensor actually given some garbage value to your program, and then if you don't use try catch, it will crash because it can't handle that situation. But using try catch, if you are using try catch in our program, first if a garbage value come, the algorithm will try to compute with the garbage value, and then if there is any problem with that computation, it will go to the catch, and then it will say, hey, there is an exception found. But that doesn't mean that it will crash the program. It will again try to repeat the task again. Okay, so the code will be, or the program will be always online or always on, but after some time, imagine the sensor data become correct. So again, the program will run in the normal fashion. Okay, so try exception, try catch, which is one of the best way to write programs. Make sure you are handling all the exceptions, because otherwise it will crash your program. So exception handling will be important, and you already know the namespace, right? So this is the namespace example. This is mainly for giving an isolation for your class or function. So in this example, what they are doing is, this is how we can create a namespace. Okay, namespace is like, under this name we can declare function, class, variables, whatever we want. Okay, but we can only access this function by using this usage. Okay, so that is the important one. Like, in order to call this function inside the namespace, what you have to do is you have to call like this: first space double colon function. Okay, in order to access the function program in the second space, you have to use this. Okay, so this will actually creating an isolation between programs and classes. Okay, so if you have same classes in your library, you can add a namespace. Okay, this is also very important because rows is having a namespace called rows. Okay, and if you work with OpenCV, you might have a namespace called CV. Okay, CV double colon. Okay, namespace is very important. I think, yeah, that's it. And also just have a look on to the STL as well. Okay, STL, there is a concept called vector, which is very similar to arrays. Okay, but mostly, like while working with the robots, the vectors are like very convenient to use. Okay, so the STL, it's actually there is a library in C++ called standard template library. Okay, which is a very powerful set of functions and all, using a thing called template. Okay, I'm not discussing template here, but template in C++, there is a concept called template. I'm just giving an idea. Like I can give a scenario to you. So you have written a function called sum. Okay, sum, or division. Okay, and if you want to divide an integer, if you want to divide a floating point, or if you want to divide double anything, then the process, steps are different, right? For example, if you divide two numbers, that is a float, okay, then the division result has to be stored in a float number, float variable, right? So how to make these operations generic, meaning if you have a sum function or divide function, it should work with all kind of data types. Okay, so in order to make our functions or like classes generic, we have a thing called templates. Okay, templates, I'm not sure you have worked with templates. So this is actually for the generic programming. Okay, it's very powerful thing. Most of the companies are using templates because they need the generic programming environment. Okay, so using templates, we essentially like creating generic functions which can, we can provide any kind of data type, okay, to it. So this is the template is also using in rows. For example, if you want to publish, or if you want to send a data using rows, okay, then we are using actually a template function So the data that we are sending will be, I mean, there are different kinds of data like string data, integer, then array, all kind of data is there, right? So we can handle that function using a template only, because using that function we can send any kind of data. Okay, so that is actually a template function that we are using in rows. Okay, so just understand about the template. Yeah, I think that's it. These are the important things that we need in C++ for working with rows. Okay, so let me know if you have any question. I mean, the things that we have discussed. If you don't have any, I will directly jump into a concept called cross compilation, or like building a big project in C++, how to build all those stuff. It will take 10 minutes of my time. Okay, but I can explain that, but I'm just starting the VirtualBox. So in the meantime, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Then we will see this example. Okay, yes, so let me open my book as well. So the reference of this thing is my book. Okay, so I can say the scenario. What are we trying to discuss here? So imagine you're working with a big project, big C++ project, and you have hundreds of source code, not lines, 100 C++ code. Okay, and the 100 C++ code may be like 90 C++, or like 99 C++ code will be classes. Okay, which is having different class, and like it is using for I mean doing many functions. So yeah, so in order to compile, how to compile these classes and these 100 C++ file, how we can do that? I mean, we only know the G++, right? Using G++ command, you can compile a single file, also multiple file. Okay, you can do that actually. Using G++, we can like compile many source code. Okay, but it's very difficult to like do the command, right? I mean, we have to enter all the source code, and it's very difficult, right? So in order to make the project compilation easy, we have two tools in Linux. There is a thing called Makefile. Okay, Makefile in Linux, and there is a thing called CMake. Okay, so these are the two tools that is available in order to automate the building procedure, C++ project building procedure easily. Okay, so let me take my yeah, maybe the GitHub, Rows for Absolute Beginners GitHub. Oh, okay. So I just want to show you the C++ code, and the example. Let me clone it. Let me try to clone. Oh, maybe I can download it. I just want to show you a project that is an example of this, so you will understand it clearly. I'm just downloading my book source code. I'm just extracting it, and I'm just going to the chapter 2, and you can find a project. Okay, so this is the project that I mentioned. Okay, let me see. Okay, good. So if you have a project like this in C++, okay, I can explain what this project, and then we will see how to compile it. Okay, So this project is mainly for doing a summation, just adding two numbers. That's it. Okay. So in order to add, this is actually just a demonstration. Okay. In order to add, I just created a class called add. Okay. So this is how we can add classes in your project. Okay. Basically, we should have to maintain two files, that is a header file and a CPP file. So in header file, you can write the class declaration. Okay, you can just give the IOStream header file, and then you can just give class name, then the function declaration, which is actually public. So the header file doesn't have any other thing, just the class and its declaration. Okay, and in the CPP, we are creating, or we are defining the function. Okay, so you can see here, in order to define this function, we have to add this header file, which is add.h. Okay, so in the .cpp, we are adding add.h, and then this is how we are define the compute function, which is just adding two numbers. Okay, so this is how we can define a function inside a class, that is first the return data type, then the class name, then the function name. Okay, and this is what it does. Okay, so we have add.h and add.cpp. Okay, so then the main.cpp file, okay, which is basically adding the add.h. Okay, and then it's actually creating an object called obj. Then simply it's calling the compute function, passing two numbers and printing it. Okay, so how to compile it? Because there are three source code, which is main.cpp is the main function, which is having the main function, and these two things are class. Okay, but we have to compile all these things together, then only the main.cpp can understand the add.h and add class. Okay, so if we have many classes like this, then there is a thing called makefile. Okay, makefile. So makefile, the name is like this, makefile. Okay, if you make any change in the the name, like makefile, if you change it, then it will not work. So in the makefile, what we are essentially doing is that this is actually a kind of script. Okay, so you can define the compiler that we need to compile, that we need to use for compiling. Then if you want to mention any flags, like if you want to enable the debug flag or something, you can mention it. And you can also mention the source file. So source files are main.cpp and add.cpp. Okay, no need to mention the header file, because you have to maintain the header file with the same name of the CPP. Okay, add.cpp and add.h. Okay, but main.cpp can be changed. Okay, the name can be changed, and you can just mention it, and then this is how we are compiling it. Okay, this is an automated method to compile it and build it, and this is for cleaning it, cleaning the executable. Okay, so basically it's a script, okay, in order to add many C++ file and compile it. Okay, so I can show you a magic. So how to compile it? So it's very easy. Just open a terminal and then do a command called make, and then you can see what the make does, which is basically compiling main.cpp, then add.cpp, then it's linking these two objects to an executable. Okay, so we don't need to worry about it. We just got the main executable. Okay, so we just created the application. using the make file. Okay, so just execute the make in order to make the project, and make clean to remove the executable and object files. Okay, so that is actually Linux make, which is very popular. And I just want to show you the next thing, the last thing, which is CMake. Okay, this is an extended version of make, which is called cross-platform make, basically. So if you're having a C++ project, then you can compile the project in Linux as well as Windows or Mac. Okay, so the Linux make file, okay, that we have seen earlier, it will be only work with Linux. Okay, but if you want to make your application, C++ application, cross-platform, then you have to go with CMake, okay, which is very popular, and this is actually using in ROS. Okay, ROS actually using CMake. So understanding CMake will be a task for you. Okay, but just understand CMake is just for for building a big project. Okay, mainly building C++. Okay, but there are other functions as well. So here you can see the CMake, and CMake is actually very easy to read, actually, not like the make file. You can see CMake minimum file, a minimum version required is this, and we have to build the project in a release mode, not the debug mode. Debug mode is required to debug the project. I think you already know what is a debugging, right? So we need to release it. Okay, we need the release mode, and then we need to compile it in C++ 14. Okay, that is a compiler that we need to use, and this is the executable name that we require. Okay, this is a project name, okay, which is a project name, and this is how we are creating the executable. Okay, so main is the executable name, and add.cpp main.cpp. Okay, so we have the CMake file here, and then we can see how to build it. Okay, so in order to build it, I'm just copying the CMake to this. Okay, and I'm just removing the make file. Oh, make file will be fine. Okay, so this is the same project. Okay, I am using CMake to build. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a separate folder called build. Okay, build. I'm going inside, then opening a terminal. Okay, and then what I'm doing is I'm executing a command called CMake . Okay, CMake is the command. Okay, CMake is the command, and .. just refers to the previous folder. Okay, so what happening is that the CMake command will look on to CMake list.txt file. Okay, so but we are actually inside the build folder now. Okay, so CMake space .. will check the CMake list.txt just before the build folder, which is the add project. Okay, so if you do that, oh, I need to install the CMake, by the way. Let me install the CMake. It will not take much time. Let me finish it. It will take, I think, yeah, it is quick now. Okay. Okay, so by default the CMake is not available. You have to install it, but it will be available once you install ROS. Okay. Okay, so CMake .. and you can see there are some messages printing, and then yeah, so Rohan is asking questions. CMake comes with a ROS installation. Yes, it does. Okay, so we have got some messages, and it's like generating done, build files, everything. So let's see the build folder now. So now the build folder is having a make file. Okay, so do you understand what is the CMake does? what is the a task that is CMake does? It's very easy actually. In Linux, the CMake is actually converting the CMake file into a make file. Okay, because make file is what Linux recognizes. Okay, then we can make the project. In Windows, CMake actually converting your C++ project into Visual Studio C++ solution files. Okay, I hope you heard about the Visual Studio. So by compiling the Visual Studio project, you can compile your project. Okay, so just do the make and then boom, it's built and you can able to see the result. Okay, so just remember about the CMake. Okay, it's already mentioned in the book. Okay, in the book it's actually mentioned, so you can see the complete description is there, and all the explanation is mentioned in the book. So just check that, okay, for more information, and it's actually very popular thing. Okay, so now from this session I'm just planning to conclude the C++ basics. Okay, in the next session I'm planning to discuss about Python. Okay, so Python tomorrow I'm not sure because I'm traveling and there is a time difference as well. So if I am I'm reaching and settling there, I can able to start with Python. Otherwise let me think whether I can do it in Sunday or any other day. Sorry for that because I need to travel for this. Okay, so now it's a time for Q&A. So let me see if you have any confusion with the things that we have discussed. I know we have discussed a lot of things, but we have to discuss all these things, then only we can do the stuff with rows. Okay, so let me know if you have any question related to C++ or CMake or make or something. I'm just giving all the resources that you can that you need, so you can try it out. By the way, the second version of robots operating system for absolute beginners is coming. Me and my wife is actually ordering it. Just a sec. Oh, this thing is coming always all the time. Yeah, let me check. It is indexed. Yeah, so let me know if you have any question, guys. Any questions?
So do we need to type this text file every time while working on a new project?
Can you repeat your voice actually? Yeah.
Breaking for every project, do we need to type this CMake.txt file separately?
Yeah. So okay. So in order to build the project, okay, if you are working in a big project, you have to do the CMake space double dot. Okay, so that will create the make file, and then you can build the project using make. Okay, but that is only you need to do that only if you change any source code or something. Otherwise you can simply execute make to build it, no problem. Okay, so you don't need to do the CMake all the time. Only the make will be enough. Okay, Hari, is your did you get my point? Or
Yes, one more doubt, sir. If do we need to create a folder at a time? That
okay,
build folder?
only one folder. Only one folder will be fine. You can give any name, but the reason why I created the folder is while we do CMake space double dot, it's creating some intermediate files. Okay, so if that is in the same path of the source code, then it will be like it will not looks good. Okay, so it will be better if we can create a folder called build or something, and then you can type the command called cmake space double dot. Then the cmake will build the project, and it will store the intermediate file inside the build folder, okay, including the make file. Okay, so that will be the best practice. But if you don't want to create the build folder, then you can simply do the cmake from the project folder. Okay, then also the make file will be created. Is that clear, Heidi?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys. I think if you don't have any questions, I think we can conclude for today's. We can conclude today's session. And if you work with C++, if you have any question, you can put it in Discord. Okay, these are one of the important prerequisites that we required. Okay, if you are not familiar with C++, or like if you don't have much programming understanding, just work on it. Okay, because I'm not sure how many courses are offering like this, but this is super important. Okay, yeah. Okay then, guys, I think we can conclude today's session. Hope we can see hope we can discuss tomorrow, but I will update you. Okay, I will update you. I'm not sure whether I can say yes today, because due to corona and all, everything can change. Okay then, good night everyone. See you on next class.